Hello, and today we are talking about waste management. Well, in Ghana, Accra, in the capital cities, is it feasible? Is it feasible? And that's what we're talking about. But guys, I don't know, just to throw, do you know where the word baller came from? No. I don't know where it came from. But that's what we are talking about today. Crunchy, let me start with you. Waste segregation. Should we even bother? Why don't we lump it all up and just burn it or, dissolve it?
Yes, I'll start by letting us understand what the waste in total is and its relationship with segregation. Okay. The reason why you don't have to lump all together is because there are different kinds of materials, and we don't refer to it as waste anymore, but we refer to it as materials in transit. It means they are not waste, but they are materials that could be used for something else. So if you want to use for something else, then you've got to separate them, because if you do your fufu and your banku and then you have a little palm oil or palm soup on it and you mix it up with the plastics, what you do is that you contaminate the plastics with the banku and the soup. So you need to segregate so that they can be in their perfect form for perfect recycling.
Somebody will say the plastic is contaminating the banku.
Yes, whether Jonah swallowed the whale or the whale, there's a contamination. So that is why you need to segregate your waste so that they can follow that channel in their proper transit into another material. Yeah.
So it's important we do that.
It is critical that we segregate the waste.
Richard, now, how then do you get the average Ghanaian to segregate their waste?
I guess educating the masses is quite important to start with. And it's rather unfortunate that the young adults and the adults as we are, we have already formed the habit. It will take a longer time for us to change our perspective and the perception about waste. But it is important for us to start teaching our youngsters, the children from the KG to the primary school, that they need at least to separate the waste they generate, for instance, from school and so on. When they begin to form the habit and the habit stays in them, I believe it becomes then easy to pass it on to the parents. Oh, mommy, you don't have to put this plastic here. Teacher says we should do it this way. So it becomes a habit that everybody adopts to actually separate the waste they generate and maybe you reuse it for that purpose. Yeah.
Because it means that every household should have what? Different color bins or different style bins or?
Yes, there is a much more deeper responsibility when it comes to waste segregation. You asked, how are we going to get our waste segregated? You see, as a nation or as a country, we need to have our policies right. You see, because everything that we do has generated from the legal base, the legal framework, the policies that are set in motion by the government. And when I say government, I do not necessarily refer to NDC or NPP, but the leadership.
State.
So we need to get our legislations right. For example, our latest National Environmental and Sanitation Policy, which was approved in 2010. I say latest one because the previous one was approved in 1999, and it operated up to 2010, where they realized that there is a need for us to revise it. So it was revised into 2010. And that policy set specific goals to be achieved within specific time frames. And one of those goals was segregation. And it said that by 2015, we should have achieved, I think, 25% waste segregation. But we are in 2014, and you could see that there is no light or no sign of waste segregation. That is where the challenge begins. Because if you don't have the national framework for waste segregation, then where are we going to start from? Who is going to say, go here? Who is going to say, do this? Because, for example, you know that our waste contractors who come to your households to pick up your waste, they always give you a litter bin, which of course you pay indirectly. So they give you 1 litter bin, which from that point tells you that there's no waste segregation, so lump your waste together. So you also lump your waste together. But you see, if these waste contractors, in their agreements with the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, it is said that now give the people even 3 or even 2 separate bins, which the people will pay anyway, and then let them segregate the waste. Because the policy will be deriving from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, the district assemblies will also take it up, and then they will pass it on to the waste contractors, and then it gets to the households. When this kind of system is put in place, then people by compulsion will do segregation. And that is not only it, because waste segregation comes with certain rewards, a lot of rewards. For example, if a household separates their plastics and their organic waste, and the one who is interested in the plastics come to collect the plastics, he is not going to even charge the household for disposing of their plastics. But he's going to charge the household, he's going to pay the household for giving him the plastics. So if the total cost of waste disposal for the household a month is maybe 15 cedis, that could reduce to 10 cedi. And that is enough incentive for the household to do the waste segregation. So I sincerely believe that we are afraid to take the bull by the horn. Because if we do that, we can easily achieve this. And I'm not saying this because I'm thinking, but we have done it, you know, and it has worked. It has created employment. Because at the end of the day, if recycling goes on, if composting goes on, you only create more employment. You create more income for people. You see, so I'm sure as we go on, we'll be able to delve much deeper into some of these thoughts.
You just drawn my attention to, you know, when we were kids, you know, we always used to collect the empty bottles because the caliber was going to come.
Yes!
So, you know, you get some smudge into my black and white, you know, so you just make sure you kept all the bottles. You know, and then when the caliber comes,
you make some money. You know, those of us whose mummies had chop bars and all that, the palm kernel, keep it. You buy a new, you know,
So I think that side has to now, you know, be highlighted a bit.
Yes.
I think we've gone too quiet on it. I mean, the other thing I like is the new name given it to, because in our time there was a stigma on baller. You know, you don't want to go near baller. You know, but if it's, you know, material in transit, well, you know, I don't mind being in transit.
And it's a lot of business, my brother. Look at the scrap metals. It was started some time ago, and I know a lot of people who has made billions of Ghana cedis through the scraps. And a lot of jobs have been created. So we need to focus on these things as a country. Collectively, we need to focus. Our policymakers must focus. Our implementers must put more energy into those areas.
The laws alone is not working. So should we look at something like maybe marketing or rebranding?
Marketing should actually be come into place, because the point is, if you have to recycle the material, and you do not know where the existing market is for this market, this, for instance, plastic bottle have to be grounded first and use it for that purpose. Then what's the sense of you recycling if there is no final? This because what we have observed is the industry is collapsing, and we're importing more from outside the countries. So that is why the government, for instance, have to put up the right strategy and put up some few tax incentive on. There should be a form of environmental tax reform in regards to the plastic and waste we generate in our household. So I believe that is the first thing to start, because if the manufacturers knew that, for instance, I need to take the PET bottle and then recycle it again, you then reduce the cost of getting the raw material, because then the cost reduces, and then you can produce at least 3 or 4 times what you needed to get from maybe mining somewhere, and then take the plastic from the aviary tree and then bring it to. So those are the things we actually need to view, because we need to revisit the whole dynamisms of how our income generation goes, which of the industry produces more or produces less, what are the policies those industries are putting up in place, and also review our import and export laws and see if a country have to put up his plastic to, from China or from France or from Germany to Ghana. It means that the life cycle of the plastic is no more it's not going to end in Germany. So there's no more need for Germany or France or Nigeria or whichever country to put up much money to recover those material and maybe recycle it. So there are we need to have a holistic approach with the sanitation all together with recycling and so on. It is nice to have, for instance, nice law, penned down in papers and so on. But another thing is just to see the reality on the ground and see that the laws we are quoting actually integrate or present the true aspect of what the country has as a goal or where we are going as a country.
You wanted to touch on the marketing bit?
Yeah, yes. See, initially I said that I'm not saying some of these things based on thoughts. They are practicalities on the ground that we have tested. You see, when we started with plastic waste management, we said we're going to put value on the plastic waste so that it is no more a waste, but it will become a commodity that people can trade in. So we started with what we call the Operation Chase the Plastic Waste. And so we mobilized people in Accra to collect the plastic waste and then sell. So we started showing people how to collect the plastic waste and sell. So it started gradually like that. And as we speak today, that sector that we started in our own small way has grown so much that as we speak now, Accra alone has a recycling capacity, plastics, of about 120 tons a day.
Whoa.
And we have people who started collecting these plastics from the ground, and now they are owning their own trucks. Some of them are even owning small recycling plants that they are recycling these plastics into other materials. So along the way, we came up with Cash Your Trash. You understand? You're talking about marketing and explaining to the people. So you need to embark on systematic strategic marketing and education on some of these things. And you see, sometimes government is found wanting. If I say government, means the public sector is found wanting in bringing out some of these solutions because of their orientation. But you see, when the private sector comes in and the person knows that my survival depends on this plastic waste that I'm collecting or recycling, then you see the thinking is invigorated to bring out solutions even if there are challenges. So marketing is good. We need to empower the private sector to be able to, or maybe encourage, not empower, but encourage and expose the private sector to some of these things. We started 7 years ago, and a lot of plastic recycling companies have come into the country because...
I see them in trucks,
Yes, my brother, that is business.
I see them in trucks now.
I see them every day. I talk to them every day. We are in meetings every day, and sometimes I marvel the extent to which this thing that was started some years ago is now becoming an income for people.
So what do you have? You have to take the bag and then wash it and bag it? Or?
You don't need to wash it. You go around, there are itinerant collectors who are scattered all over. We met one lady in the course of our research, and she told us, old lady, she used to sell provisions. Now she's not selling provisions anymore. And mind you, you need capital to start selling provisions. But in plastic, you don't need any capital. You go around, you collect, you bag. The main collector who has the transport comes to buy from you, sends it to the recycling company. He sells it to the recycling company. He is paid, goes back, goes on, and the chain goes on. And you see, this one was done by the private sector with a little support from the public sector. So if we could adopt these kinds of strategies, that is why I said that we need to focus a little more. And you see, the private sector is good at that because they are businessmen. They want to survive. So when you bring them together, you can get wonderful returns. For example, we heard of the Accra compost plant. They started doing compost. So they're working on compost. And compost is a big thing. Look at all the estates that are going around. You know, climate change is around, and a lot of things are going. So we need to. But sometimes, my brother, I would also want to. Sometimes our knowledge base and even our exposure levels are not enough to bring about some of these solutions, because you need to search, you need to learn before you'll be able to come face to face. And if the public sector, like somebody, a chief director in the ministry, goes to a conference and he sees this, only a few of them are able to really translate this into something else. At least it will help them in the policy formulation. But when the private sector sees this, he said, this is business. I'll create employment, and they go into it. You know, and he was talking about taxes, the tax regime for the products. Government instituted the ad valorem tax, 20% for plastic imports. And as we speak today, that tax has been able to generate more than 35 million Ghana cedis. And you see the act, I think 853, which brought in that tax, stated categorically that 50% of that money should go into a fund to be known as plastic recycling fund. We are in this sector. We know the challenges of these collectors, and I will never advocate for a grant to any of them because it's business. But give them interest-free loans. Put in systems for them to pay because they can pay. Let them use these trucks or whatever equipment they need to create more employment.
Clean environment.
Yes. But you see, sometimes people don't know and they cannot even understand when you say it. Because when you sit with them and talk, the next moment they have other challenges they have to deal with. So they forget your issue. You understand? So, but it takes only a few people to just say that I'm focusing on this thing, and I bet you it will yield a lot of results. So this is how it goes. We need to do advertisement. We need to do campaigns. We need to let people know what these things are. It is not only plastics. It cuts across all the waste stream.
Let me bring Richard in here. Richard, I mean, how severe and how real is, the sanitation problem at the moment?
Should I say it's a tragedy?
Yes.
Because it's actually terrible to have a different view of the city when you get to the airport. You see new high-rise building, and you go through the backyard and you see that the reality is not the same. We see plastic all over. You see heap of waste just by the streets, uncollected and so on. And you ask yourself, do we wait for us to have a form of pandemic with malaria and so on, and cholera coming before we realize that yes, it is important to understand that waste management is a key factor to the development of a country. Because if as a country we cannot manage our waste efficiently, I don't see why we bother managing health and so on, because we have no business, first of all, handling the issues of because the basic things start with the way you manage the basic things around you before you think of the bigger issues. Like you said, we get to conferences and so we go to conferences. After that, you get back to your office. You put up your ticking cap and trying to find out. Yes, there are this, and we have some challenges. Let's call the private sector. Let's think together how we could put up together. There are some few strategies to push the goal forward. Just like to add to what he said about his plastic waste treatment. Young entrepreneurs could come up and maybe do some form of micro franchising with his organization, and maybe get the bank support them by giving them some track, get around picking up the waste and so on. So we see that we'll be producing more, and we'll be even exporting those recycled material. I was privileged, for instance, to travel recently to Burkina Faso to do a waste auditing for the Burkinabe's authority, and I was amazed to see that the women put themselves in a cooperative, and they were recycling the plastic and be doing rulers for children. And the rulers were marked with made in Burkina Faso, and they were so happy to have a product made in this and not made in China, as the way we'll be seeing in the country. So we need to review our approach about sanitation altogether, because where we are heading to, it is very, very, very dangerous. And
I'm going to take a break here. When I come back, I want to stay with Richard and find out, generating energy through waste. I mean, I've talked about it, we talk about it, but it's not happening. Is it really difficult? Is it really practical? And if it is, why haven't we started? Stay tuned.
Producing from hydro, but can we get, for instance, say, electricity from the waste we generate?
Yes, it is possible to generate some electricity from the waste we generate. And just like you see behind, we have a heap of waste that contain various products. Like, I call them products because those are materials for other purpose. We could do what we call a landfill gasification. A landfill gasification is just about creating a well in an existing landfill before decommissioning the landfill, just to tap the resources we have buried in the ground. So what you do is just to tap and have what we call the landfill gas that contain some biomethane. And biomethane is have the same characteristic like a natural gas, and with some few impurities. Then channel through a generator and generate power to communities.
No further processing?
No further processing.
Just digging the well?
Yeah, just creating a well. And creating a tapping it.
And that's it?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I mean, is it truly that simple? And that's what I'm going to speak to Richard about. Obviously, you saw Richard there explaining it, but I need to find out into details, how much energy you can get from how much waste. Maybe he'll be able to help us. But now joining us on the table, because the matter is big, I need a bigger crowd to talk about it, is Magnus Nunu, and he is the sachet water president of the National Association of Sachet Water and Packaged Water Producers.
It's mixed up a little bit.
But it's all in there somewhere,
yeah.
But thank you. Thank you. Magnus, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good. And, they're the ones making a lot of plastic, so we're going to go to him later
Absolutely.
on. But, Richard, I mean, if I have a house, let's say 4-bedroom and a sitting room, 2 air conditioners, I mean, how many neighbors should bring me their waste fufu and this so that I can be able to power? I mean, I just wonder, is it feasible or... Because we're here, and I've championed it, but I don't have the real numbers as to how much rubbish you need to create how much energy.
Let me make it simple. It's possible actually to generate electricity from waste, and every human activity, whether we like it or not, goes with electricity, energy and production of waste as well. But the point is, to answer your question a different way, I normally tell people that it will take you about 10 peel of banana to generate fuel for a car, just like a Hyundai i10, to run for just a kilometer.
10 peels of banana?
Yes.
Well, that's not a lot.
No, if I'm giving you 10 peels of banana, you just ask yourself how many peels of banana you can get in a city around. So it is just to tell you that...
well, I'm saying that, I mean, there's a lot of energy for that amount of...
Yeah, just for 10 peels, just imagine 1 kilometer is quite a lot. And there are various ways of generating electricity from waste. You can generate the electricity via anaerobic digestion. You could also generate electricity via pyrolysis. You can generate electricity using an enclave system. You can use the plasma gasification. You could also use a landfill, but I'll bring it back to with the reality of the ground here. We could also do what we have, what we already have, for instance, at Pone. We have already wells that are already existing, but we are not making good use of it. And what we're supposed to do, for instance, with the Pone Katamaso, was just to, you will not be burying all the waste at the same time. You have to segregate from home and use the food waste and bury it to generate power. But unfortunately, we're not doing it. So going back to the anaerobic digestion is related to food waste. organic waste we generate from our homes and some industries and so on.
They get biogas.
They get the biogas. It goes through a form of digestion in anaerobic digestion, and you then produce what we call a methane or the biogas. The biogas is not at the stage 100% pure, so you have to burn it. Burn it is meaning that you use a generator to just power your electricity, and that is how it is. Yeah.
So, I mean, like a landfill site, like what we are seeing on the screen, is it too big and might cause an explosion? So you have to do, small, bits
that is so big. The challenges we have, for instance, with the landfill in Ghana and Africa, for that matter, is most of our landfills are not engineered, and it is difficult to, and because of our record keeping, we certainly need to know when the landfill was commissioned, the depth of the landfill, when it was the last time it was capped. There are certain surveys that come into play for us to know exactly the real value of electricity we could generate from those open dumped landfill. But for an engineered landfill, because you already have the data, it becomes much more easier to tell that yes, within 30 years or 40 years, we should be able to have enough power to power our communities. So,
and then obviously we need to do the segregation so we don't put cardboards and plastics.
Yes, because you don't need to burn those materials. They'll be used for other purpose. What is important to burn most of the time are the food waste. We talk about the plastic waste. We make much more noise about the plastic waste, but we seem to forget that the organic waste is much more dangerous to the environment than the plastic waste, because those create a greenhouse that normally will actually deteriorate the ozone layer. Yeah, so we seem to be focusing much more on the plastic, because those are things.
Because I was just going to launch an attack.
Because those are things we see. No, the point is, it's just because of the way we dump our waste after drinking the sachet water, just litter around, and it is visible. Then we only complain about the food waste when it starts. What smells is not the plastic. What smells around the city, and most of the time the food waste that are rotting around. So those are untapped resources that are left without proper usage. So just like from our survey around in Accra, with 0.68 kilogram per capita, we generate in between, depending on the season, we generate in between 60 to 65% of organic waste. And this organic waste, from our studies, we would generate in between 10 to 12 megawatt hour of electricity, and that is a lot to power about 50,000 to 60,000 houses.
It's a whole estate.
Yeah.
Magnus,
Yeah.
I mean, can't you put the water in some undissolvable paper or some material that would break down easy, or a bottle that we have to bring back and then take another one, like Coca-Cola and Fanta is doing, so that we regulate how much plastics escape into the system until our behavior improves?
Well, I think that would be a question for the scientists to answer, but it is so possible. I mean, water must be kept in something so that it doesn't leak out. So we have something which comes in the form of plastics or bottles, or for that matter, But then also, like is exonerated us many times. Our shadows chase us, and we think it's a ghost. The real things, right? But like you said, I mean, there's something we came up with a slogan, right? We call it "Cash your trash." People don't really know the value of trash, so we treat it really like a trash. But if we really know the value of trash,
the name. I mean, he has a nicer name.
Material
in transit. That's much nicer.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't say trash and garbage and baller. Everybody doesn't want to touch it.
Nobody wants to touch it. But
you rename it, we are excited.
My focus is actually on the plastics. Actually,
sure.
Like you said, I mean, we've come quite a long way. I mean, when it was the whole city was getting so messed up, then we had to tackle the bull by the horn to come in to assist, bringing our own initiative to see how we can help manage the plastic within the system. As I speak now, we are stakeholders to this Accra Plastic Waste Management Project, right? We are the major stakeholders there. And we self-charge ourselves, right? And the money is used in trying to process the plastics. Not to really incinerate, but to turn it into other uses, that can help us. Now we're having issues with this CD going down because we need a lot of money to import the same things we could use. And I'm glad to say that I was just walking out from a meeting to this one with the AMA, environmental subcommittee, actually. And surprisingly, I was just trying to get you the video so you could actually put it out there for people to see. I really appreciate what we did some years back. Gone were the days, so many years back, a mayor of Accra called us and, he said nobody thought that the organic waste was more dangerous than the plastic waste. So you guys, listen, you are causing a mess in the whole city. You come up with a solution or abandon your product. And so we came out, necessity is the mother of invention. Came out with a proposal. So listen, we don't think that the issue is just banning it, but probably we haven't found the uses of plastics. So let's come out with a lineup of something, which we did. Long short of it, we introduced recycling, educated people, blah, and what is it? Now, if you walk through the streets of Accra, in actual fact, we don't have much plastic waste in terms of flexibles. Unfortunately, then we didn't see the dangers that plastic bottles were going to create. Everybody saw plastic flexibles, but nobody actually saw the bottles. So we came out with a system. We got companies to invest in recycling machines. And then we try to put value on the flexibles, the sachet plastics. And it has become business for a lot of people to do. People go around, bail it. There's a collection point, somebody else buys it. It's a chain, and it ends up there.
Crunchy's explained that to us. Can you come up with a system where, as soon as I'm leaving home, I just take my empty bottle. And then as soon as I see somebody selling water, look, that's my bottle, you give me one, otherwise I pay extra for the bottle, just like we do for Fanta. And because, the Fanta bottle is not expensive. It's only like 80 pesos or 1 CD at worst. But nobody wants to give the vendor that extra 1 CD. They would find a bottle and just pay for what they're supposed to pay. So that we have a regulated amount of bottles in there and then stop the sachet water.
No, like I said, I was just going to hit the tone. I think the problem is not with the sachet water; it's the attitude of the people. Yeah. You understand it? Now, like I was saying, if you have seen that video I'm talking about, they took the video at our beaches. It was all plastic bottles, dangerously plastic bottles, and not sachet. Sachets were about 1%. 99% were these floating oil bottles and blah blah. So what really happened? We never planned for this. Now, the sachet market sort of shrinking. People are now moving into this one. Possibly, we would encourage, if all of us stick to, like, for example, they showed the mobile water adverts, where
it's on the screen.
It's all bottles. You hardly, if we all decide, okay, let's use the reusable bottle, the dispenser, right? You pick a bottle with you in the office at your home, fetch something and keep it. I think we can really tone down the amount of plastic bottles we have, because it's scary. That's what we see.
But with the bottles,
we don't have any recycling. Yeah, you don't have recycling for bottling. No. This one, yet. But we have for the sachet flexibles. Okay. And so these ones are now becoming a menace, big time. At the beaches, you see floating in the sea. It was so scary. Very, very what we saw there, and it's so visible. I always draw an analogy, very simple. This bottle is 500 ml. A sachet water is also 500 ml. If I empty this bottle and I empty sachet, right? Yeah. How many empty sachets will go into this one? At least about 10 or more. So it means that this one is more visible than the sachet, and it can create a mess. And I think that it is so necessary that we now rise to the task. We have found a solution for the sachet, but we need to look at this one as well. If we all decide, like I said,
is it recyclable?
Yes.
It's just that we don't have the capacity.
It's just that we don't have it. We never foresaw, because then we started, everybody was drinking from sachet, so the focus was on sachet, and we left this one. And now this one is becoming a real menace. Sachet is no more the problem. The problem is with this one.
Let me take a break, and then when I come, I get Crunchy to comment on it. But I also thought that, this was recyclable until today. Let's see what we can do about this. Stay tuned. Well, I think there's a menace on our hands, and we should all get together on this one. I think there should be a lot of education as to how we try and separate our waste so that it makes it easier. Resources in transit, how you separate your resources in transit. But you want to comment about the bottle issue?
Yes. So we dealt with the sachet. Now these bottles are now becoming the emerging giants that or predators that are going to engulf us. So for the bottles, there are no existing recycling companies here or machines here that can recycle, because you need about 800,000 euros to be able to get a giant PET recycling plant. And even if you get that giant recycling plant, you need about maybe 20 tons an hour of waste to be recycled and
to make use of the machine.
To make good use of the machine. So what is existing now is the crushing and the exportation of these ones, which we are working on now. So they will shred it into flakes, and then they will bale it, and then it is exported into other markets where they turn these materials into shirts, into singlets, into so many other things. And these things are there.
Shirts.
And shirts. And even
not
for
raincoats.
Yes, and even for
I expect it to be raincoats.
Yes, and even for the sachet, it is being converted to oil in other economies. If you go to Japan, the sachet water that we think is a problem is being used to produce oil.
As in the rubber?
Yes, as in the rubber. It's being used because, it comes from petrochemical. Yeah. So it comes from there.
The street.
So like I said, it's a national focus. We need to go deeper into these things and realize and become more conscious that there are no more waste.
I think another thing that's also bothering us is the black bags. Even if you buy a black bag, the lady pulls another black bag and put the black bag, everything. You buy a pencil and they hide it in a black bag. And
yes, you see, before Mr. Noon takes the biodegradable aspect of the whole thing, we need to reuse our plastics or our materials. We need to reuse them. We need to recover them, and we need to recycle them. How do we reuse them? For example, when you go to the market and you are given the black carrier bags, don't immediately throw it away. Wash it, and when you go to the market next time, I do it these days. When I go to buy anything and you give me plastics and I think I don't need it, I'll tell you I don't need it. And I tell the person that if the person don't need it, don't give more. You understand? And also reduce the volumes. Like you go to the market, one person, you buy onion, you are giving black. You go to the tomato seller, she gives you another one. You go to the cassava, she gives you, and you are taking all these. You go home and you realize so much. So you also, when you go to the market, you say, no, just give me one. This one is okay for me. Keep the rest. So we begin telling people these things, and it goes to sink down. We have a project that we are designing for the wache sellers, the rice sellers, and those sellers, because you realize they put it first in the transparent plastic, then they put it in the black one, then they put it in the colored one, which says thank you for buying from me. so why don't you skip the black one and put it in that one? So that program is being designed now, which we're going to have a
march for. Just go back to our leaf, the good old leaf, and then wrap you around some newspaper. So there you go.
But it's a national focus. We cannot leave it just like that. It won't happen by chance. We need to work consciously, and that is why I referred to the private sector earlier on. We did this with the private sector, and it is working. If the private sector is engaged or encouraged into this, I believe we'll get far.
Richard, so we've seen excerpts of the landfills. So what are we going to do with them now? They look massive with everything in there. So do we need to now take our time to separate it, or just hope to God that something happens?
Even though we'll separate, the idea is to ban landfilling. In Germany, landfill has been banned in the year 2012, and other communities have done that. What we intend to promote is a near zero waste approach to waste management, not just collecting and just bringing it to the landfill, but taking all the resources that we have in the waste stream we generate, out of which plastic is plastic, the low density and the high density are only about not more than 15% of the waste stream we generate, and create new markets, create employment, and because we'll be talking about the challenges of employing the youth and so on. Meanwhile, there are more sustainable way of handling our waste, also creating employment. So yes, we may decommission the landfill, but it does not stop there. You can't just decommission and just leave it there, because what you have buried there are components that will actually compromise the groundwater, and you see people suffering from strange diseases and co. Because mind you, you are not only treating landfilling at probably Panta and co. Because the underground water travel far, you may think that you are creating a problem in Panta, but you are also creating a problem in communities probably about 10 to 15 or 20 kilometers away from
I think we are more at risk than even those Panta.
Yes, yeah, because the
will be traveling.
The time to, so yes, we could decommission, but we need to have a pragmatic approach.
Well, let me take somewhere like Panta. Right?
Yeah.
First of all, there are people living around, and some are living too close for my liking. But so what do we do? Do we now collect it and take it somewhere else? Do we burn it, put some acid on it? I mean, what do you do to it?
What we could do, it depends on the, like I initially stated, it depends on what we have there. Some people may promote landfill mining and maybe incinerate the waste in a controlled environment to generate electricity and so, and then use the existing landfill and maybe regreen the area for a number of years, so that the contaminants and so on that we have around will be this. Because since we do not segregate our waste, we mix battery, we mix ions and all those things into this in our waste stream, and the contamination level, the soil contamination level is quite high for the place to be re-habitable. Immediately the place has been decommissioned. So you decommission and then you re-engineer the place because there are still resources buried there. And you think of a very sustainable of maybe handling your waste in the near future, because you cannot be moving the goalposts anytime population is expanding, because we are now a lower middle income country, so it means our waste generation will be higher than what we have now. So if we do not take a very strategic approach to actually solve the challenges of today, we can never solve those challenges again. We should be pushing the landfill and maybe until we get to the border of maybe Togo and Ghana, or maybe Cote d'Ivoire, or maybe Burkina Faso. But
I mean, is poverty an excuse? Because some people will say, look, I can barely afford one bin, let alone 3 or 4. So as for me, segregation is out of the question. And they may be living in communities, and they're also generating a lot of, resources in transition. So can we use poverty as an excuse to say, well, I can afford 2, 3 bins or 5 bins, so I can separate?
If communities understand that there's a form of royalty cards and there's certain benefit that come with segregation, then they will understand. But poverty is not an excuse to this. If you compare the health hazard waste, poor handling of waste create, and your poverty level, you rather choose you handling the waste properly. So what they could do is they should understand that yes, we generate the waste, but at the end of the day, we get some profit on recycling those materials, just like the way my good brother said about the plastic waste they're doing. They are creating some incentive, they are creating job for families and so on. Then if somebody also understands that the bottles that generate could get a company interested in, why will I discard the bottle when I can keep it for it to be plenty, and I give it to a company and maybe, or maybe if there are royalties that come with it, or maybe there are tax rebate or so. And I believe we need to review the whole system of handling our waste, from probably the properties laws and so on, where, for instance, revenues could be attached to the property rates or so, from which the municipality can generate some few money to put up in communities that want some recycling, this because the Indians are doing it, and they have a lot of sustainable community in India, from reusing the wastewater, from reusing the food waste, from reusing the sewage. I mean the toilets around and so on, and they have clean communities. People are happy getting involved in the process. But we can't put our policies when we actually do not involve the people in the policies, and the policies also meeting the reality on the ground. Because if there's no one cut approach for problem solving, you cannot tell me that a waste strategy in Germany actually depict the reality of the strategy we need to adopt in Ghana. So it takes you sitting with the people, having coming to a consensus and understanding people's attitude, how you can help shape and let them understand that yes, it is true that it is waste, I don't need it anymore, but at the end of the day, there are other benefits that comes with me doing it in a very efficient and very so poverty is in no way the solution to neglecting the environment to your own benefit. Yeah.
Krashi, so what's the way forward now for, obviously, plastics?
Yes, for me, poverty, waste segregation, recycling brings rather more benefits. So if you are poor and you want to get richer or you want to get better from your poverty state, then you need to do segregation. Because in the end, like I said, if you're paying maybe 10 cedis for your waste today, if you do segregation and you can sell your plastics, you might pay 5 cedis. So you see, you'll be earning. So the waste is actually a wealth that you can keep for yourself if you are poor. And for the plastics, we have to focus more on it. We need to support the plastic waste collectors, because you see, they don't go to the assemblies like the waste contractors to say, pay me to go and collect the waste. They on their own go and collect the plastics, take it to the recycling company, they make their money. The chain goes on without any money from the assemblies or from government. So we need to invigorate this system. We need to fuel this system to grow. And like I said, we shouldn't give them grants, but like the money that goes to the Ministry of Local Government through the 20% ad valorem, why don't we channel some of these things in the form of loans? Let me bring
Magnus in here before I sign up. Magnus, so are we looking at crushing and at least exporting some of these bottles, or?
I think that is an obvious choice for us. I mean, if we really want to get out there, because as we have entered into what's the middle, lower income levels, those incomes are going to be higher, and you spend much less money on buying a carton of water than even buying a full credit. Yeah. So, you know, we have a lot more people now drinking water from this. And so what we're seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to get worse and worse as we climb from lower to middle to upper into that bracket. And so we must face, if that is it, the way out is that immediately, if we do not have what it takes to establish a plant here, because if we even do, the plant must produce to capacity, and as we hear, I mean, I don't think that we generate 20 tons, per hour of waste. So then we can combine with a couple of countries around who are also.
I was just going to do that.
Crash it and
just 30 seconds. I mean, the countries around us, do they also produce as much sachet water and bottled water?
They do. I mean,
as much as us, or do we do more than that?
I think Nigeria is the highest.
Okay.
Followed by Ghana, and now it's a problem in Togo.
Okay.
There's a problem in Côte d'Ivoire, and then there's a problem in
Burkina
Faso.
And Benin, they even came here.
In Mali and Senegal, they have already banned the importation of the black pellets.
Okay. So then, I think the way out with the black bags and all this. First, with this one, like I said, finally, we don't have a choice. We need to, if it's crushing it, we need to do it. I mean, encourage it, maybe put value on it. People go collect it, you bring it, and it's crushed and it's exported. Now, with the black bags, I guess. So as it could regenerate fast, the laws on this biodegradable
to make them biodegradable so we can export them. Well, thank you very much. I know we need more time to talk about this, and I'll try and see if we can continue this discussion, because it is real and it is a menace. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And as I say to you guys, thanks for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again.